Hello everybody, this is Mr. Rob and welcome to the very first episode of the Detroit Lions franchise here on Madden 21. I've been so excited to bring this to you guys today. We are getting started with some Madden on the channel. We're getting a Madden franchise going. So if you're excited, make sure you leave a like and subscribe down below. I even left the instructions on the screen for you as we are on the road to 100 subscribers. So before we get started though, let's take a look at who will be owning the team. There is a new owner in Detroit, and it is none other than Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Dwayne Johnson, who was looking to buy the XFL, actually ended up buying an NFL franchise. The XFL deal never went through. One of the backers was dropped out, and so therefore Dwayne Johnson took his money and he purchased stake in the Detroit Lions. He doesn't have the majority stake, but he is now the figurehead in Detroit. So Dwayne Johnson owns the team. Let's take a look at the settings we'll be using. We'll be playing on All Pro. There will be sliders. I'll show you guys the sliders in a second, but here are the settings so far I am using. I will be an owner. This will not be 32 team control, although I will pay attention to what's happening in real life and work in realism into this series, because this is going to be a very realistic rebuild. We're going to be rebuilding the Lions over multiple seasons, and it will not happen over one. We're not going to just trade for a bunch of superstars, stuff like that. So let's jump right into the franchise. It says I'm starting off in the preseason, but I'm actually going to sim through the preseason since, preseason got canceled in real life thanks to COVID. So I'm going to sim through the preseason, make the roster cuts, and I'll see you guys on the end and introduce you to the team after we see who made it. So here we go. Here are the Detroit Lions squad. Here's the list of the roster. We're going to start off, though, going by each position, and we got to start at quarterback, and none other than Matthew Stafford, the veteran out of Georgia, still the gunslinger. He did miss about half the season last year, but he's still a quality starter. You see, still an 83 overall. Got a solid throw power, good accuracy across the board. He is the starter for now. In future seasons, we're going to have to eventually find a replacement. But Matthew Stafford is the starter in Detroit. Chase Daniel is his backup. He was signed this offseason. In the running back position, top running back is Kerryon Johnson, the Auburn alum. He is the starter in quotation marks because this is going to be kind of a committee backfield. Kerryon Johnson is going to split carries with DeAndre Swift, who we'll see in a second. And Kerryon Johnson is going to be the primary power back. So he's listed number 1 on the depth chart. But this man right here, DeAndre Swift, the rookie out of Georgia, second round pick, hidden dev. So you know he's going to be something. He's going to be splitting the backfield with Kerryon Johnson. He's going to be more of the third down, receiving back, just spread type running back. So expect him to split lots of carries with Kerryon Johnson. There are other running backs in this backfield, especially Bo Scarborough, the former Alabama alum. He is another back who could get some carries over time. He's still very young in his own right, 23. He's kind of the backup to Kerryon, so if Kerryon would get hurt, Bo Scarborough would step up. Very strong guy, not the fastest, but he's very, very powerful runner. And then the other running back is Ty Johnson, another very young running back, 22 years old, so very young backfield. He's kind of the Swift backup, so if something were to happen to Kerryon, it would be Bo Scarborough takes over, but if something happened to Swift, it would be Ty Johnson. 92 speed, he's got very solid quickness to his game. There's no fullbacks on the roster. We're not going to carry a fullback. And then a wide receiver, you have to start off with Kenny Golladay, the superstar of this squad. I am playing with superstar abilities, so he will be a superstar for us. He's a great catch in traffic receiver, 95 catch in traffic. He had almost 1,200 yards this past season, had 11 touchdowns, so definitely our number 1 receiver. Take a look at his abilities. He's a red zone threat, and he runs very good catching routes deep inside the numbers. But he's not the only receiver. Second receiver in Detroit, Marvin Jones Jr. He had 779 yards and 9 touchdowns last year in his own right. Also has star dev, despite being 30 years old. There are a lot of weapons on this Lions offense. This is a very well-oiled offense in terms of the skill positions, so this could be a Lions team that puts up a lot of points. And we're hoping that these weapons can help us. And then you got Danny Amendola, this dirty slot man. He might not get the kind of recognition that Golladay or Jones does, but he does a very good job in the slot. 34-year-old vet, obviously won't be around forever. We'll have to look at replacing him at some point. But this is a pretty solid receiving core. And then if you go down the roster a little bit, there's a 5th-round rookie out of Wisconsin, Quintez Cephas. So with the receiver being very deep. I don't know if he will get playing time right away, but he's somebody to look out for. Maybe it could be that Danny Amendola replacement, although he's more of a big physical wide receiver. 6'1", 202 at 22 years old. Needs to work on his route running, but he's got pretty solid hands. As you can see, 84 catching traffic right out the gate. And then another skill position, the tight end spot, TJ Hawkinson, a very young guy who could be an amazing weapon. He had, in his debut last year, 6 catches for 131 yards. Now, they didn't really go across the whole season, but we're hoping that he can capture that, that debut performance. He has 82 speed, 84 catching, so definitely another field stretcher that could be a mismatch. And these Lions, they like to run 2 tight end sets, and our number 2 tight end is a very trusted number 2, Jesse James, the 6'7" former Pittsburgh Steeler from Penn State. He could also get mixed up in the passing game, and don't be surprised to see him involved on a lot of the snaps because we're going to go 2 tight ends a lot. Now we get into the offensive line, where this is kind of where the offense falls apart. It's kind of patchy. There's a couple good players. We're going to start off with Taylor Decker, the left tackle. He's okay, 74 overall, but he's making a lot of money for his position. He's the key. Stafford cannot be getting hurt all the time, and we need Taylor Decker to protect his blind side. He's got 77 pass block and 90 strength, so he's definitely more of a power blocker. We're just hoping he can stop those edge rushers. Then we move inside the left guard, and we have Joe Dahl, who's he's penciled in to be the starting left guard for week 1. He missed some time last year due to a back injury, and I don't know how long he'll hold the job. He's just kind of strong, big body, can't really do anything really well. The real player to look out for at left guard is Logan Stenberg, who is the rookie out of Kentucky, 4th rounder this year. He could be thrust. I don't think he's ready for a starting role, but if somebody like Joe Dahl really struggles, he could be thrust into that role premature. That's not what you like, but this is a Lions team that doesn't have much depth at the guard spots. Then we move inside the center, though, and this is where our best lineman takes place. Frank Ragnow, 24-year-old from Arkansas. He is definitely the leader of this line. And it's last year, he only had 2 holding penalties all year. Robigi can take that leadership and kind of bolster this line, especially if he's got to play next to 2 young players at the guard positions. Speaking of right guard, here's Ode Abushi, he's the starter for now. Definitely won't be the long-term starter. He might not even be the starter by day 1. This is a veteran from Virginia. Is kind of not really that great at anything, so to speak. Sorry, my phone was going off in the background. This is the real man to watch out for. Guard is Jonah Jackson. He is the rookie from Ohio State. The 3rd rounder will become the starter. Could be the starter by week 1. It just depends on what Matt Patricia wants to go with. He's kind of in the same boat, though, right now as O'Day, so it just depends who wants to get playing time. Excuse me. Then starting off at right tackle, Tyrell Crosby. We're starting off with him, but he's actually not going to be the starter at week 1. He is going to be the backup swing tackle. As you can see, we only had 1 left tackle on the roster, so Tyrell Crosby will be that backup swing guy. He might play left tackle, he might play right tackle, but this is the guy who will be starting at right tackle, Haila Vati. I know I definitely butchered that one. But he was the ex-Eagle who signed a 5-year, $50 million contract this offseason, so he definitely will be the starter. He's making starter money, so he will definitely get the first chance with that job. Now we move over to the defense, starting with the interiors. This is a 3-4 defense. Deshaun Hand, the young Alabama alum, is a 78 star dev at the age of 24. He's very strong run stopper. If anything, he could plug some holes. He can get down and dirty. 92 strength, 84 play rec, 81 block shed. So very good down there on the inside end. And then we move over to the other end spot where we have the anchor of this line, Trey Flowers, 86 overall. He had 7 sacks last year and is an elite run stopper. So if we can get that kind of production from Trey Flowers, he could really anchor this line. I mean, look at those stats across the board. I see basically 88s and 87s. He has 77 speed, so he's not the fastest, but he is going to get in the backfield. He's going to draw a lot of double teams too, which we're hoping to relieve some of those this year by looking at the net player who will be starting at D tackle. Before we get there, here's Julian Okwara, the rookie out of Notre Dame. He could get some rotational snaps as well. He's actually the brother of teammate Romeo Okwara, who you just saw right before him. So he could get some rotational snaps. But now we're going to move into the D tackle. This is the big nose tackle, Danny Shelton, at 345 pounds. Big boy, the ex-Cleveland Brown and New England Patriot. He signed a 2-year, $8 million contract this offseason. We're hoping he could take some of those double teams away from Trey Flowers. So maybe Trey Flowers can get in the backfield and cause some even more havoc. So now let's move outside to the linebackers because this is a 3-4 defense. So one of the 3-4 linebackers on the edge will be Jamie Collins, another ex-Patriot. As you can see, Matt Patricia signed plenty of Patriots who he's used to, who have played in the system before back when he used to be the D coordinator in New England. He signed a 3-year, $30 million contract this offseason, and he set career highs with 3 interceptions and 7 sacks. So he's still playing at a pretty high level. We're hoping that can translate to Detroit. Move into the inside linebackers, though. This is not the strongest unit. As you can see, Jelani Tavai, our highest rated middle linebacker at 72 overall. The second-year man from Hawaii. He really does need to get better as he's pretty quick. He's just not the best cover man. And it's kind of the same thing here with Jarrad Davis. I like Jarrad Davis a lot coming out of Florida. Unfortunately, he hasn't really lived up to that hype, but we're not giving up on him yet. I mean, he's still a very solid player. He just has a very atrocious zone coverage, 51 zone. We really need to improve that if we want Jarrad Davis to be a 3-down linebacker, as his time is kind of running out in that regard. Then the other guy on the edge, the 4th linebacker, Christian Jones, the veteran from Florida State. He's not particularly good at anything, so whenever we go into the nickel, he 100% won't be on the field, as he is 29 years old. He's got 80 speed. His zone's not very good. His block shedding's not very good. He can kind of recognize plays, but he doesn't really do a whole lot. So he's just that 4th linebacker. Miles Kilbrew's not much better. But then we move into the secondary where we're pretty loaded at the cornerback position. Starting off with Justin Coleman, who's an 86 in this game. He has very good ratings. So Justin Coleman, he will be the outside. He can move inside. He'll be our all-around corner. Look at that, 88 man, 85 zone, 88 play rec. That's a very solid player, as he leads a group that also has Desmond Trufant, the longtime Falcon, who signed this offseason to a 2-year, $21 million contract, making starter cornerback money, which kind of creates a logjam where we'll talk about in a second, but he's still a pretty solid player. Might have overpaid, though. Do we necessarily need Trufant? I like Trufant. I would love to have him. We also did just spend the number 3 overall pick on Jeff Okudah out of Ohio State. Hidden Dev, you know he's going to be a stud. And I want to get him on the field as much as possible, but with Trufant and Coleman in front of him, I mean, that kind of creates this backup at the cornerback position. He is the future of this secondary. He just needs to work on his man coverage a little bit, but I like him a lot. And then if we ever do go dime, Dale Roberts would be the dime corner. Not really that great of a corner. He just is the 4th guy. Former Marshall man. He's had a long career, so he's made a name. You know, he's done something right to still be in the league at this point. Let's move back to the safety position, starting off with a free safety, another ex-Patriot, Daron Harmon. So if you haven't noticed a theme here, Patricia's job, which could potentially be on the line, he brings in a lot of ex-Patriots. But Daron Harmon's a very good, solid center field safety, as he is a veteran and was acquired via trade in the draft. So Daron Harmon brings that 85 zone coverage to the roster, and that frees up our strong safety Tracy Walker, who's another very solid secondary piece at only 25 years old from Louisiana. He's very talented, and we're probably, with Daron Harmon at the top, he's going to fall back into the box more because he can cover 76 man in zone. That's very good for a safety, and he will help cover those tight ends and those running backs slipping out of the backfield. Kicker is Matt Prater, and punter is Jack Fox. So that takes a look at our roster. As take a look at the practice squad. Basically a couple names, just a couple young guys. One name you might recognize is the Thanksgiving starter from last year, David Blau. He is on the practice squad. He's an emergency starter if need be. But that is a look at your Detroit Lions. And now we're going to take a look at the sliders I'll be using. These are Armor and Sword sliders. I got these off Operation Sports, and they will be in the description below if you want to check these out. I like his sliders a lot, but this is what we'll be using. These will obviously be changing a lot, especially in the early going, since the game really did just come out. As now let's take a look at the Bears roster, who we will be opening up against. in Ford Field at home on week 1. They are obviously anchored by Khalil Mack. Eddie Jackson have some solid, very solid defensive players. But the question is, who is going to be their quarterback? I honestly have no idea. They haven't even named a week 1 starter yet. And that's going to be where this team goes. You're going to have to see a lot, and that quarterback's really going to hopefully step up for him. But that is going to do it here for today. Week 1 will be coming on Friday. I cannot wait to bring you guys week 1. I'm so excited for this series. This is going to have a great time. We're going to love this series. I'm going to love this series. I hope you guys love it. But thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you leave a like and subscribe down below for new content, especially if you are new to the channel. There's plenty of franchise on the channel, so please drop that sub below. And this is Mr. Rob, and I'll see you in the next one.